Hey everybody, Spud here with Spud Inc. Straps. Got my good friend Murph down here today. We flew Murph down to have him talk about a product that's near and dear to him. We are relaunching the Fred Hatfield strap. We're going to call it Dr. Squat strap. Fred was an icon in our sport, and he was a near and dear guy who brought a lot of great things to the sport of powerlifting. So on that note,
I want to just start off by saying you have it on camera that he just said we're good friends. He denies that off camera.
There'll be some of that back and forth, but there is the brother from another mother, that connection. Even though I'm not from Baston, we are still brothers.
You know it. So Fred, I don't even know where to start talking about Fred. Fred was a mentor to me, but also a friend. So they talk about, like in Lethal Weapon, never endo, and they said endo's forgotten more about dispensing pain than you or I will ever learn. Fred forgot more about training than you or I are ever going to know. He was brilliant. He was a brilliant, brilliant coach. And I think I was fortunate enough that when I met him, we kind of hit it off right away. And a friendship started out that lasted close to 20 years, you know?
He was one of the first guys that actually went over to Russia, trained with the Russians. I want to say he was also one that translated a lot of books and information.
I don't know if he translated them, but he did relay the information.
Right.
I don't recall him speaking Russian, but he may have, I don't know. But he did, I think he relayed the information and conveyed it before other people were doing it. So a lot of what we do now is based on a lot of the old Russian stuff. The force production and you know, using dynamic waves and things like that.
And this was back in the 70s and 80s when he would go over there, and this was back when you just did it for the sheer love of the sport, because you just wanted to be better, you just wanted to continue to make progress, and you know, you always heard the stories about all the other weightlifting, the Russians, the Bulgarians, so, you know, all those ones, those little secret, you know, Rocky movie themes that you heard about, but you heard about all these secrets and you wanted to know their secrets. And Fred was one of the first ones to go get some of those secrets.
Yeah, one of the first. And compensatory acceleration, which was his, I don't know if he coined that, but I believe he coined that phrase. And he was one of the first guys to start doing that in training outside of the Eastern Bloc countries. And I mean, we all know how well that works now. It's brilliant, you know, it's great. And the glute ham raise is something that I'm pretty sure that he brought back to this country. I remember him telling me stories about how they used to take the pommel horse and put it up against the, what's that wall, the rack,
Yeah.
with you know what I'm talking about. And they would do them off a pommel horse or a gymnast horse, the pommel horse, right? Whatever. And he brought the glute ham raise back over here, and nobody had seen it at that point, to my knowledge. I could be incorrect with my timeline, but I'm pretty sure it was him, you know? So he brought a lot of cool stuff back from there. And I think aside from bringing cool stuff back, I think he explained it really well in his books. You know, I'm sure you read them. I read his books as a kid, and I was just like, oh shit, you know? And that's kind of how I met him. A friend of mine was the state chairman for NSCA, and when I was going to get certified, I asked him, you know, if they were getting certified, who do I go through? Should it be NSCA or should it be, you know, this or that? And he said, which one are you thinking about? I said, ISSA or NSCA? And he said, why ISSA? I said, because of Hatfield, because that was his thing, International Sports Science Association. And he said, how much is the ISSA? And I don't remember the price, but it was like $50 cheaper than the NSCA. He goes, it's $50 cheaper. Nobody cares who you're certified with anyway. Right?
Right, yeah.
So I went with ISSA, and I got my first certification, and then 5 or 6 months into it, I get a phone call from them, and they had a seminar in Boston, and they wanted what's called a facilitator. So a facilitator was like the guy that goes there or a girl that goes there, and you check people in, and you pass out the test, you collect the test, and you help whoever the instructor is with the classroom stuff and the gym stuff. And I was talking to them on the phone. I'm like, yeah, sure. How much are you going to pay me? They're like, well, we're not going to pay you. I'm like, you want me to close my gym down for 2 days and lose all that revenue and go and work for free? Well, we'll give you a certification as long as you pass the test. I'm like, I don't think I need another certification. One's good, you know? And they're like, you get to meet Dr. Hatfield. I'm like, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Right, I'll do it. Fuck it, you got me.
That's pretty much
That was worth it. you know? And so I went home and I told my wife, and I'm like, I'm gonna go to a seminar and I get to meet Fred Hatfield. And she's like, that's like your idol. I'm like, I guess it is. You know, Bobby Orr, Fred Hatfield, Ray Bork, there you go. And those are Bruins, in case you guys don't know Ray Bork and Bobby Orr. So I'll go to the seminar, and he comes down, and if you you've met him before?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you know how he is. He comes downstairs, and it's 2 minutes before the seminar, and he's like, what's your name? Okay, everything all set? Yeah. So I'm like, shit, man. Now I'm stressing, like, does he like me? Does he not like me? I didn't know that was how he is. And lunchtime comes around, and he's like, where are we going for lunch? I'm like, I don't know, wherever you want to go, dude. So now I'm like, I'm going to lunch with Fred Hatfield. I'm going to lunch with Fred Hatfield, right? So we go to lunch, and then after that, he gives me his phone number, and he says, give me a call, and it's his home phone number, because we didn't have cell phones, right? So give me landline. And that's how long ago it was, kids. So give me a call whenever you need anything. So a couple of weeks go by, and like, I don't even know. I've been nervous to call him, but I had some questions. Oh, fuck it. He said, call me whenever you need something. So I call him, and he's like, oh, Jesus Christ, you know, sorry, I can't believe it took you this long to call me. And so that started a relationship. And he'd call me, I'd call him. I had one client, and he was kind of a machine, and I would just make up these crazy conditioning circuits for him. Like just dumb shit, right? And at a certain point, it was like, let's see what I can get this guy to do, right? So I told Fred about it one time. He's like, I want weekly updates. So he would start calling me, what did you make that asshole do this week? You know? So it's, you know, I asked him a million questions on business, on training people, and I think 2 things from him were really, nobody else would have said that to me. One, when I started the company, when I started my company, Total Performance Sports, I looked around at what other people were charging for personal training rates, because that's what we did back then, was one-on-ones, and everybody that was doing it was like $25 an hour, $25 a session. So I call him up, I'm like, Fred, listen, I'm thinking I should charge like $20 to get new business in the door. He's like, nope, you gotta charge more. You gotta set yourself apart. You're better than they are, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right. So I charged like $30 an hour. So the businesses grew, and it was picking up, but it wasn't growing to the rate I wanted it to. So I called him up, like, Fred, I'm having trouble. You know, there was no internet then, you know that, right? So I'm taking out newspaper ads, and you're trying to get your name out through referrals and stuff, and knocking on doors, and phone rang. We had the ad in the yellow pages, the phone was ringing, and I said, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to get more business. And he's like, what are you charging? I told him $30 like you told me before. And he said, what are the other people charging? I'm like, 25. He goes, double it. I'm like, what? I said fucking double it. And he hung up on me. I doubled it. You know what happened? Boom, I had to hire another guy full time, because people have that higher perception of value. So I was charging $60 an hour, and everybody else was charging 25. And they were beating the door down to come in. That was his advice. Another one, which was, I thought, really cool. I had a client. He was the first official client of TPS. Not my first one, but the company's first one. And he was probably 5'7", 5'8", and he was like 425, 430. He's a big fat bastard, good guy, right? And he would come in the gym, and he's like, I gotta lose weight, and I'm gonna die. You know, my wife's pregnant. And I gotta get it. So, all right, we got you, dude. So we put him on a meal plan. We got him trained, and he would train his ass off. He worked his ass off, and he worked hard. And he would tell me he's following the meal plan 100%. At the time, I was using Fred's zigzag diet.
Who's that?
It's so, make sure we go back to the fat guy story.
Right.
What, do you remember?
Fat guy.
Fat guy. Do you remember the WWF, or the WWF started the WBF?
Yeah.
So they had a natural bodybuilding federation, and they hired 3 people to come up with nutrition plans to see who could get the athletes the leanest and the ripped, and keep them in peak shape all the time. It was Fred, Mauro Di Pasquale, and I don't remember who the third guy was. And they ended up doing fully funded scientific research on this, and Fred's diet won, had the best results. So it was basically just a standard deviation of a high carb day, or high calorie day, medium calorie day, low calorie day. And he would adjust the calories with a standard deviation of about 10%. So if your baseline is 2,000, the high day is 2,200, the low day is 1,800. And he had formulas within there. It was simple once you learned it, but it was pretty complex, where you would adjust based on your activity level. So like if you do hard physical labor, it's like a you know, a 0.9 addition, and if you sit at a desk all day, it's like a 0.4 subtraction. It was a little bit complex, but once you learn how to do it, it worked really well, you know, but it was nothing complex. It was just a straight caloric reduction or surplus, and you decided how many days to give the surplus or the increase based on what their activity was. And one of his things was protein needs had to be constant at every meal, which was the best science we had at the time. We know now that that's not necessarily true, but 25 years ago, that's what they thought. So I used that with this guy, fat guy. So I had him on a standard zigzag that Fred taught me how to do. And by all rights, you know, you get somebody that's 400, 450 pounds and you just sew their mouth shut and have them walk around, they're gonna lose weight, right? So he's training his ass off and he's not losing weight. And he's gaining weight, okay, he's putting on muscle, but he's not getting smaller, right? So he should be getting smaller in the waist. And I would go home and I'd be stressed out. You know, I'm like, ah, fuck, what am I gonna do with this guy? I bring him in and you talk to him over the course of 3-4 months. How are we doing with the diet? I ate everything on the meal plan, okay? After a while, you learn how to question people.
Right.
Because you know where this is going. You know where this is going, right? And I'm home one day and I said to my wife, I'm like, I think I'm in the wrong business because if I can't help this fucking guy get smaller, I'm doing it wrong, right? She says, call Fred. I'm like, yeah, I better call Fred. So I call Fred and I explain everything to him. And he goes, he's fucking lying. What's rule number one? Rule number one, all clients are lying, right? You do your cardio this week? Yep. You follow your meal plan? Yep. Do you want to go to karate in the garage? Yep. Nope. So I bring him in the office, and I got to have like a come to Jesus with him, right? So I bring him in the office, and I'm like, Georgie, listen. I said, you know, I was so stressed out about you not making progress, I questioned whether I should be doing this business or not. I tell him the whole story, and he breaks down in tears. He's like, I've been fucking lying to you for 6 months. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, I eat everything on the meal plan, but I stop at McDonald's on the way home. I get 2 quarter pounders, a fillet of fish, a shake, and he's naming the food that he's eating in addition to the meal plan. He's like, I'm a junkie. I'm no different than a heroin junkie, but I'm a food junkie. But it was Fred that kind of made me realize that
You cut through it?
don't question yourself if you know you're doing things right. You know what I mean? Science is science. If you need 1,800 calories a day to get smaller, and you're not getting smaller on 1,800 calories a day, you ain't eating 1,800 calories, you're eating 3,600. So, and that's a funny Fred story. He's fucking lying. You know?
Fat bastard.
Fat bastard's lying to you.
So obviously you're getting a little taste of what, just some of the couple of things that Fred was known for. But, you know, maybe some of you don't know, he was one of the first guys to squat 1,000 pounds in the 242 class, right? If I remember right. Like 1036, is that what it was, or 1014?
1013, 1014.
Right. And this was back in the 80s when, you know, it was completely unheard of.
And the gear back then was nothing like the gear now.
Right, so it was almost nothing.
It was almost not single ply marathon suit.
And he did it, if I remember right, in the mid-40s. So he's in his mid-40s, one of the first guys to squat 1,000 pounds in the mid-80s.
And looked like he could have done another 30.
Right. So from a training aspect, what do you think got him there, and what were some of the...
So I can tell you, because he told me.
Yep.
And my memory is not what it used to be, so I'll relate as best I can. Compensatory acceleration training, which is his thing, is compensatory acceleration means you want to increase your speed as your leverage improves. So you have more leverage when you're closer to lockout than you do out of the hole. So you're obviously going to start strong out of the hole, but you're going to try to use more force and more force and more force. And it's like, so if you put bands on the bar for dynamic day, you know what I'm talking about. Compensatory acceleration was a component, the key component of his training. Another thing that he did was he didn't do any eccentric training as he got closer to a meet. So he did a lot of bottom-ups squats, which was, I found surprising, because he'd wrestle himself under the bar and stand up, and then he would drop it on the pins.
Those are terrible, by the way.
Yeah, awful. But he didn't do any eccentric as he got close to a meet. The safety bar he used almost exclusively until a few weeks out from the meet, and he would transition over to a straight bar. He did a lot of what we call now Hatfield squats, a ton of them. And the Hatfield back raise, he said, is probably the biggest thing that he believes. one of the single exercises that got him to that 1,000-pound plus squat. He used to tell stories about when you went to a weightlifting meet, because he was a weightlifter before he was a powerlifter, and the Russians would always come up and they would give you a hug, and they would pat you in the back, in the lower back.
Checking your erectors.
Checking your erectors, right? And he's like, they would check your erectors. And
Do you check your erector?
check the erectors. But he said they knew that was a guy they had to watch. If they didn't know who you were at a meet, they'd check your erectors. And he wanted to come up with a way to develop his erectors, and he came up with the Hatfield Back Raise. And that was one of his key exercises. So it was compensatory acceleration, tons and tons of safety bar use with the Hatfield style squat, which is a 90-degree angle in the ankle, knee, and hip, where you hold onto the rack or the handles. The Hatfield back raises, and the no eccentrics. I think I said that twice. But that was one of the big ones. And I'm pretty sure that I named the Hatfield back raise because nobody had ever seen it when he showed it to me.
Right.
I'd never seen it, and so I made a video on it a few years after he showed it to me, but our clients have been doing it for years, and it's an unbelievable exercise. So we used to do it with the barbell, and you hold the bar, and it's hard, but the strap is way harder, right?
Yeah.
So you can hold a 45-pound plate behind your head and make them difficult, but he calls me up one day, he's like, I just made a strap for these, it's unbelievable, it's called the lift assist harness, I'm gonna send you one. Like, great. So he sends it to me in the mail. I'm like, what the fuck do I do with this? No videos, no internet. Fred, how do I use this stupid fucking thing, right? So he tells me, I throw it in the corner, I don't use it, right? I'm like, this is too complicated. I'll just keep doing them with regular straps and hold the bar. Calls me up a week later, do you use it yet? No, it's too complicated. Fuck you, use it. Okay. So I tried it, and I don't know what we had on the bar. We put on, we were doing them with straps with 405 for reps, and they weren't high quality Spud Inc straps, by the way. They were the shitty cotton ones that broke on you, right? So I think I put like 225 on it to start, and I couldn't budge it. I couldn't fucking budge it. I mean, you know what it's like.
Yep.
It makes a lightweight heavy, but the design of the strap, it just is some reason it targets your erectors like nothing you can feel. And one of the cool things that Fred used to preach when if you went to an ISSA seminar, he showed everybody how to do this exercise at them, which is it's really cool. He said that it's 100% orthopedically safe for people with lower back with lumbar disc injuries because the disc is supported, and as long as you're safe to go into a little bit of extension, it's an exercise you can do to build up the erectors with no fear of damaging the disc further. I don't know how true that is, but I don't remember him saying anything that wasn't true. So I'm going to trust him on that one. And I've used it with clients that had lumbar injuries and helped them come back. So it's a cool exercise.
So that was one of anything that brutally tears something apart in training, we like a lot. And he had mentioned this a long time ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago. That 4 or 5 always translates to at least 10 because we can't tell time anymore whatsoever. So I had him send me the one he had, and we went ahead and made a prototype. And sure enough, we just did some Romanians with it. I did some.
I was very reluctant to give that to you too.
Right. But we're good friends.
We're good friends.
We're brothers.
Well, he made them, and he didn't sell hardly any of them because he didn't promote them.
Right.
And then the company stopped making equipment, so you can't get them, Plus, it was his, he gave it to me, so I kind of, was reluctant, but anyway.
Yeah, really nice. So the first time I used it, we took a little bit trying to figure it out, but once we figured it out, basically it's like a deadlift strap for your back. So it takes the low back out of the equation, like he was doing the regular back hypers using the barbell on the ground. So you had the connection obviously with the low back, and this completely takes a lot of that out of the equation. So basically it's a strap that gets wrapped around the bar, you hold the strap, and then your erectors take the heat. And it is extremely brutal. We've done a lot of different things with it.
Yeah, you guys came up with a lot. Let me just add to that real quick, not to cut you off, but sure. A lot of people don't realize that the erectors run pretty far up your back,
Yep.
right? And it's very difficult to target the erectors at the top. And the first time I used the strap, I noticed that all the way up to right under the traps, I was sore for 3 days. So it really hits the erectors all the way up if you do it right.
Absolutely. So obviously, anything brutal, we're going to do it. We're going to try it. And who else better to explain this than one of Fred's really good friends. And we're going to show you some demos here in a little bit. We've also done other things with it. So we've done good mornings with it. We've done sled dragging with it. So there's always a multitude of uses, but in the end, it still crushes your erectors. So it's a great addition to your training schedule. And that's going to be the Dr. Squat Strap. And part of the proceeds are going to go to a charity of his wife's choosing as a kudos to the guy and all the things that he brought to the sport. Anything else you want to add?
I can go on for another 4 hours if you want me to.
Anything you want to add in particular about it?
Yeah, well, I think the strap, did you grab the strap? So if you read any of the dribble that I write in my newsletters or my articles, whenever Spud comes out with a new product, I always say that evil Dr. Spud's been in his laboratory creating something new to torture you with. And so he took the strap, and it's basically the exact same strap as Fred made. Material's a little different. I think this material is probably a little bit better. It's a little more comfortable.
Yep.
Because he used the old stuff, and it's got like that heavy, almost nylon coating on it, right?
Yeah,
So it kind of digs in. It's a little abrasive. This is nicer, but what Spud did is he added these loops, and I had never bothered to try doing anything with this other than the Hatfield Back Raise, and it didn't occur to me to try dragging a sled with it because you couldn't connect it to anything. But he came up with a whole bunch of different stuff with it. But attaching these loops to it, it kind of makes it limitless what you can do with it.
Yep.
And you're going to show some of the stuff in the videos, right?
We are.
Yeah. So this is just I think it's just an improvement on an already outstanding product, and it's made in USA, so you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we want to thank Murph for coming out and check out his website, tpsmethod.com.
tpsmethod.com.
It's a fantastic site. He's done a whole bunch of different things on programs and videos and exercise indexing and everything that you can imagine, and the support is awesome. So it's been a great pleasure to have you down here as always, brother from another mother.
Awesome coming down, bro.
Here we go.